Welcome back to Movie Bites. Today I will review a 2015 mystery thriller movie, titled, Solace. The movie begins where a dead bald man is lying on his chair with his eyes wide open. The detectives, led by Joe and Catherine, arrive at the crime scene to investigate. They figure out that the man died from a single blow to the back of his head, which is a similar method used in the preceding murder cases in the town. The murder cases are done by a meticulous method and leave no trace at the crime scene. They then conclude that the murderer is a serial killer who is trying to find his next victim. The detective appears to be hopeless since they cannot find a single clue that will lead them to the killer. In desperation, Joe decides to seek help from his old psychic friend, Dr. John Clancy, who is a doctor and has the capacity to have a vision of the past and the future. Catherine is skeptical of Clancy's ability, but Joe seems to fully trust him since Clancy appears to have helped the detectives in solving criminal cases in the past. The following day, he proceeds to drive with her towards Clancy's home in the mountains. It turns out that Clancy decided to live in the mountains after the death of his daughter, who died of leukemia 2 years ago. They soon arrive at Clancy's house to convince him to help them solve the murder case, but Clancy is reluctant to help them, as he wants to live in peace. As Catherine comes to give him the file case, she gives him a light tap. As Clancy decisively refuses to help them, they finally leave his house. Later he comes to check the file, where a line was written by the killer. This suddenly intrigues him. Coincidentally, the line turns out to be from the music which he is listening to at that moment. He then walks outside, where he gains a vision of a strange man looking at him. The strange man seems to be the killer. The coincidence of the line and the vision of a strange man greatly intrigues him, so he finally decides to help the detectives to catch the serial killer. The following day, Clancy comes to the city to have a briefing about the case. In the briefing, Catherine reveals the consistency of the killer's murder method. As he comes to hold one of the case photos, he gains a vision of the child eating ice cream before being murdered. Meanwhile, they bring Clancy to the crime scene of the first victim, but Clancy fails to find anything. He just jokingly says that the woman likes wearing hats. Later, as he is walking toward the hotel, he keeps having a strange vision that seems to be related to the killer. He keeps having a vision of the word Atticus and a running train. In his sleep, he gains a vision of a drowning beautiful woman asking for help. He then wakes up receiving a call from the detectives. It turns out that the detectives find another murder victim. As they arrive at the crime scene, they find a note with the time 4:16, which turns out to be the time of their arrival at the crime scene. Shortly after, Clancy comes to check on the victim, who turns out to be the beautiful woman from his vision. He touches the victim and magically sees the events before her death. He sees that the woman lays in the bathtub, thinking that her husband prepared it for her. As the woman is enjoying the moment, the killer instantly pierces the back of her head, leading to her death. The next day, as they eat breakfast together, Joe Clancy reveals that the serial killer targets those people who are suffering from chronic illnesses. To confirm Clancy's speculation, they need to examine the child victim's body to check if the child has an illness. Later at the lab, they conduct an autopsy on the child's body. At that moment, Clancy receives a message from the killer, telling him to check the brain of the child. The doctor found a small tumor hidden in the brain. This confirms Clancy's speculation that the killer targets only people with chronic illnesses. At the same time, Clancy figures out that the killer also has the ability to see the future. The killer appears to know their actions in advance, so Clancy decides to leave the case, knowing that they are walking towards a trap set by the killer. Later, Catherine comes to Clancy to ask why he decided to leave the case. Clancy then declares that it is useless to catch the killer since he kills the victims as an act of kindness, to save them from the pain that they would suffer from their illnesses. Clancy suddenly falls into silence. Catherine bugs him about the things he knows, so he reveals her painful past. Apparently, she has a child, but she gives up the child to the adoption center. Catherine tearfully forces Clancy to tell her more, but he refuses to reveal that she would be shot by the killer. The following day, Clancy is about to go home. While sitting on the bus, he is having a vision of flowers and frogs, and a mug of coffee. At the same time, he also sees nuns singing a prayer, while Joe is screaming in pain. Joe arrives and asks him to help them again as a personal favor. He agrees to join them again in the case. Joe takes him to the place of a suspect. A young man holding a frog mug walks out of the studio room. The scene appears to be already seen by Clancy from his visions. The young man instantly shoots Joe and immediately escapes. As Clancy and Catherine walk out of the apartment, the young man is already gone. Clancy and Catherine ride in a car to chase the young man. Clancy uses his ability to trace the young man's location. As they finally locate the young man, the scene turns into an intense car chase. With the help of Clancy's ability, they soon catch the young man. Clancy suddenly gets a vision that the young man would shoot him, so he hides behind the car, allowing Catherine to shoot the young man. This makes Clancy realize that the young man is not the killer, since the young man is not able to predict getting shot by her. After that, Clancy comes to visit Joe in the hospital. It turns out that Joe is already suffering from stage 4 cancer and is about to die. He then instructs Clancy to take care of his family after his death. Later, Clancy reveals to Catherine the appearance of his vision about his daughter's death. It turns out that he saw a shadow surrounding his daughter during her childhood. As his daughter became a teenager, the vision finally manifested, and his daughter died from leukemia. The following day, the church conducts a funeral ceremony for Joe. Clancy feels relief upon knowing that Joe's son would live a good life in the future. Later at night, he goes to have some drinks in the bar to mourn Joe's death. There, the killer suddenly reveals himself. The killer then explains to Clancy that his murderous acts are in favor of the victims, since he sees them begging to end their pain in the future. The murder acts are not pleasurable for him, but he needs to do it as a favor for the victim. He then says that the greatest acts of love are the hardest acts to commit. Meanwhile, Clancy takes a look at the future to check if he can let the police catch the killer, but the killer already figured out that he can escape safely from all the possibilities. The following day, Catherine and the police force finally know the appearance of the killer, as the waitress from the bar reveals it. She also tells the detective to trace the identity of the killer. Catherine finally traces the real identity of the killer. His name is Charles Amparos. She comes to raid his apartment, together with the police officers. It turns out that he already predicted her arrival in the apartment, as a video of him awaits her there. He explains to her that he is not a psychopath or an antisocial. He is just a normal guy who decided to respond to other people's pain. At this moment, Clancy is chasing him on the streets. Meanwhile, Amparos tells the cop on the street to report his location to the cop's supervisor. Catherine and the police officers then receive the report. This makes her rush toward the location. Amparos rides the train and Clancy also follows him there. Amparos shoots his gun, making the people run away from the train, which leaves him alone with Clancy on the train. Shortly after, the train heads towards the next station. The police officers are preparing to confront Amparos in the next station. Meanwhile, on the train, Amparos reveals that Clancy would kill him. At their arrival at the next station, it turns out that Amparos is also dying from an illness, so he needs Clancy to kill him. Clancy then gains a vision that Amparos would shoot Catherine at the next station. This serves as a driving force for Clancy to shoot him. As they finally arrive at the next station, Clancy sees that his visions are slowly becoming real. Left without a choice, Clancy shoots Amparos to save Catherine from getting killed. Catherine ends up safe, while Clancy suffers from minor injuries. Later, Catherine visits him in the hospital. She asks him to stay for helping them, but Clancy declines, as he wants to live in peace. Thanks for watching the video. If you enjoyed it, consider liking the video and subscribing to our channel. It helps us a lot.